Imagine a lawsuit where the argument isn't just about damages, but hinges on this idea that, well, global governments and banks have effectively been foreclosed on.
Yeah, it's quite a starting point, isn't it? A claim of willful disregard for material facts based on that premise.
Welcome, everyone. Today we're diving into Haltom v. City of Henderson Police Department. And our mission here is to unpack this case, and it's really more than just a standard civil suit.
Absolutely. It's this fascinating intersection of regular legal procedures, but also pseudo-legal theories and some really deeply held spiritual beliefs.
We're going to explore the worldview of the plaintiff, Joshua Haltom. So let's start there. Who is Joshua Haltom in this context?
Okay, so he's representing himself pro se. He identifies himself as Joshua Haltom, Josiah of Haltom Family Ministries.
Okay.
And his legal filings, they're signed pro se sui juris, that's Latin for of his own right, basically asserting he's legally independent, not subject to conventional legal authority in the same way.
And the core of his claim, you mentioned this foreclosure idea.
Right. It all stems from something called the One People's Public Trust, or OPPT. The belief is that back in late 2012, all corporate governments and banks globally were foreclosed upon using, believe it or not, Uniform Commercial Code filings.
UCC filings, like for business transactions.
Exactly. Standard Commercial Code.
Yeah.
He points to specific UCC documents, one supposedly canceling government charters, another canceling bank charters.
So for Haltom, this means the Henderson Police Department, like all government entities,
operates without any legitimate authority. That's his foundational belief. They're defunct corporations, essentially.
Okay, so how does he try to make that argument stick legally? There's mention of a courtesy notice.
Yes. He claims he hand-delivered this OPPT courtesy notice back in November 2024 and argues that this notice itself created a binding contract with the police department.
A contract just from receiving a notice. How does that work in his view?
He tries to use a concept called contract by estoppel. He basically argues that their silence, or really any action they took or didn't take after receiving the notice, counts as acceptance of the OPPT's terms. He cites a section of the UCC in an old case, Hoggs v. Massasoit-Whippecrow. But, that's a pretty radical reinterpretation. Standard contract law usually requires clear acceptance, not just silence.
Right, silence usually is an acceptance.
And interestingly, his own notice actually says no action, no contract. But then elsewhere it sort of implies any response, or lack thereof, locks them in. It's, let's say it's designed to create a contract whether the other party agrees or not.
And the terms of this supposed contract, the demands are, well, there's something else.
They really are. He's not asking for money, not in dollars anyway. He demands liquidated damages paid in Troy ounce ag, 99.9%. That's pure silver.
Pure silver? Why silver?
It's part of the ideology. A total rejection of fiat currency, government-issued money like the dollar, which the OPPT considers illegitimate. Only precious metals, in this view, have real value because the old system is defunct.
And the amount. There's a specific example mentioned.
It's quite striking. He demands, quote, judgment for 1 million ounce silver. 1 million ounces just for their alleged refusal to respond to his notice.
1 million ounces of silver. Wow. Okay, but this isn't just about UCC codes and silver, is it? There's a strong spiritual dimension here.
Huge. Absolutely central. Haltom identifies as a minister, an ambassador of the Most High God, even citing Romans 13 for the Bible to support this.
Does he identify with the sovereign citizen movement? There seem to be some overlaps in tactics.
He explicitly rejects that label. He's very clear. While some tactics might look similar, he sees his authority as coming directly from God, a divine mandate which he views as entirely separate from the origins or issues associated with the sovereign citizen movement.
So it's divinely ordained in his eyes.
Exactly. It frames his whole conflict not just as legal, but as spiritual, even moral. He also brings in some New Age ideas, things like earth activation and light force.
Light force.
Yeah. There's this detail where he apparently offered pocket Zohar books, the Zohar being a key text in Jewish mysticism, Kabbalah, to the police department. This was on Memorial Day, 2025, he says, for light force protection.
How do they react?
Well, according to him, their lack of acknowledgement, silence, and repulsion was basically a rejection of this divine light he was offering.
And he uses this phrase, boom, instead of bloom.
Right. It suggests he expects a sudden, disruptive change, a boom, to bring about this new governance, rather than a slow, organic blooming or evolution.
He also brings in biblical analogies, comparing the police to Pharaoh's soldiers.
Yes, specifically soldiers who forgot Yosef Hatzadik, which means Joseph the Righteous. But what's really interesting, as you noted earlier, is how he twists the original story.
Because Pharaoh did listen to Joseph in the Bible.
Exactly. Pharaoh recognized Joseph's wisdom. Holden's analogy implies that today's authorities, unlike Pharaoh, are willfully ignoring the righteous path he represents. It paints the state as this fiat state of defunct commercial agendas needing redemption.
And this connects to his view of the church.
It seems so. He mentions a belief that the church is actually already raptured and living in mutual edification. This kind of provides a theological basis for him disengaging from or challenging what he sees as the illegitimate fiat state.
So when the legal system responds in conventional ways, filing motions, following procedures, how does he interpret that?
He sees it as proof of their illegitimacy. He calls it a troubling and consistent pattern of disregard for truth, astonishing purposeful disconnect, and just procedural gamesmanship.
It sounds like a complete breakdown in communication, a dialogue of the deaf, as you put it.
Pretty much. They're operating in fundamentally different realities with different definitions of law, authority, and even truth. His framework interprets their legal actions as evidence for his claims, not against them.
So wrapping this up, what we've looked at here is this really complex mix. You've got pseudo-legal ideas like the OPPT, this rejection of fiat money, but deeply interwoven with genuine spiritual conviction, unique interpretations of the Bible, even New Age concepts.
It really is a remarkable case study in how these different belief systems can merge and interact.
Yeah.
It shows the kind of challenge courts face when a litigant's entire framework for reality, law, and what's considered legitimate authority is just different.
Yeah.
Fundamentally different.
It's quite the landscape.
Indeed.
So here's something to think about. When someone's deeply held spiritual truths clash so directly with established legal systems, what does that reveal about the different realities people can inhabit?
Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth. The first heaven and the first earth disappeared, and the sea vanished. And I saw the holy city, the new Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God. Revelation 21, verses 1 and 2.